shall we? Alright, so part 2 of our friendly and wholesome SCP readings. First up, we have SCP 348. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP 348 is to be kept in a standard locker at Site 19. Personnel wishing to conduct tests involving SCP 348 are to obtain Level 3 or higher authorization and present a detailed list of intended test subjects. Description: SCP-348 is a white ceramic bowl patterned with light blue flowers, measuring approximately 20 centimeters in diameter and 9 centimeters high. While no maker's marks are present, the Chinese characters for thinking of you are etched into the side of the bowl. When in the presence of an individual afflicted with a minor ailment or injury, i.e., mild cough, runny nose, scrapes, SCP-348 will fill with soup. While the ingredients present within the soups produced by SCP-348 vary, young subjects, individuals between the ages of 4 and 18, have consistently stated that the soup they enjoyed the meal, sometimes stating that it reminds them of their parents' cooking. Subjects will finish the soup found in SCP-348 if allowed. Children who eat from SCP-348 several times often express a feeling of contentment, stating that though they are eating by themselves, they do not feel lonely. Addendum SCP-348-1. SCP-348 was acquired shortly after rumors of a child living in redacted, apparently possessing remarkable recovery abilities came to the Foundation's attention. Investigation revealed that the child in question originally discovered SCP-348 in the attic of their house and had come to rely on it after receiving insufficient attention from their parents. The child's parents, both full-time workers, refused to comment on their relationship with the child. Resulting testing involving children was carried out under the guise of surveys to gauge the success of new food items offered at public schools. Addendum SCP-348-2. It has been noted that occasionally after soup produced by SCP-348 has been consumed, a message will materialize on the inside of the bowl. Words produced on the inside of the bowl appear to be printed on the ceramic consistent with existing markings. The message that appears will be in the language most familiar to the drinker of the soup. After several hours, or when SCP-348 produces another meal, the words disappear. Testing log SCP-348-1323-redacted. Subject: 8-year-old female, afflicted with sore throat. Brief background: lives with and is on good terms with both parents. Notes: subject took approximately 30 minutes to consume soup. Remarked later that sore throat seemed to have gone away. Subject: 10-year-old male, recently injured self while biking, minor bruising. Brief background: lives with both parents, often argues with both. Notes: message appeared: don't forget to brush. Subject: 11-year-old male, afflicted with slight cold. Brief background: lives with foster parents. Notes: message appeared: I'm glad you're happy. Subject: 9-year-old female, afflicted with slight cold. Brief background: lives with both parents, said to be prone to tantrums. Notes: nothing of note occurred during or immediately after testing. Subject stated while she didn't particularly care for the soup after tasting it, she still wanted to eat it. Follow-up: investigations revealed that the subject recovered from the cold faster than was expected. Subject: 6-year-old male, Recently injured self while playing with friends. Minor scrapes and scratches. Brief background. Parents divorced. Currently lives with mother. Notes. Message appeared. I'm sorry, son. Subject. 7-year-old female. Afflicted with cough. Brief background. Lives with mother and grandmother. Father deceased. Traffic accident. Notes. Message appeared. I love you. Hello, Aaron. Addendum. SCP 348-3. Testing has revealed that in the event that someone older than 18 years of age attempts to consume soup created by SCP 348, the individual will find that they are less inclined to finish the meal. Some such individuals remark that something is missing. Most will simply state that the soup was nothing out of the ordinary. Further studies carried out with older subjects indicate that though messages will appear for individuals older than 18, the appearance of the messages is worn and faded. See testing log. Testing log SCP 348-2635-redacted. Note, it was observed that though over 100 subjects were tested, only 4 individuals received messages from SCP-348. Subject, 30-year-old female, afflicted with headache. Brief background. On poor terms with both parents. Refused to accept father's offer for career training. Currently lives alone. Notes. Message appeared. Why? Subject, 35-year-old male, afflicted with cough. Brief background. Parents divorced. Visits father and stepmother once a month. Does not visit mother on her insistence. Notes. Message appeared. It'll get better. Subject, 40-year-old female, afflicted with sore throat. Brief background. Moved away and became estranged from both parents. Nevertheless, sent money and took care of senior housing for both. Father recently passed away. Notes. Subject noted the soup tasted initially bitter, but was fulfilling in the end. Message appeared. Thank you. Subject, 40-year-old male, afflicted with minor backaches. Brief background. Murdered father approximately 1 year ago. Oh. Notes. Subject tasted and then refused to consume soup, complaining about the taste. Subject later developed mild stomach pains. After the contents of SCP-348 were disposed of, SCP-348 immediately filled with what appeared to be salt water, which remained for 3 hours before disappearing. Subject, 45-year-old male, afflicted with aches due to arthritis. Brief background. Happily married, lives with wife and children. Visits father once a week with family. Mother deceased. Notes. Message appeared. I'm proud of you. Despite the extensive data gathered in testing, it is unknown whether the messages that SCP-348 has manifested originate from the fathers of the subjects or SCP-348 itself. Addendum SCP-348-4. SCP-348 was once used in a test involving a 60-year-old man suffering from a terminal illness. The subject, a grandfather with multiple grandchildren, stated that the soup produced by SCP-348 was the best he'd ever tasted. Following the test, the subject reported feeling a sense of satisfaction and noted that the pain caused by the illness seemed to have faded. The subject passed away peacefully a week later. Good old SCP-348. That's another one to like. How goes it, Aaron? Thoughts on SCP-348, chat? Alright, well, moving on. SCP-3737. Yes, it was a good soup. Containment class, safe. Disruption class, dark. Risk class, notice. Special containment procedures. The Foundation has purchased the land that contains SCP-3737-1. Various signs have been posted around the area declaring it as federal property. Trespassers are subject to local law. A proposal to allow personnel to visit SCP-3737 during reunion events is currently being reviewed. Description: SCP-3737 is an interdimensional anomaly that manifests as a tropical island. The size of the island or the surrounding ocean has not been measured due to SCP-3737's limited accessibility. Per its anomalous nature, the island has no relative location and exists in its own reality. SCP-3737-1 is the entrance to SCP-3737, located on the Redacted Bridge in Redacted Greenland. The entrance takes the form of an unstoppable Einstein-Rosen spatial anomaly, which is connected to a similar anomaly on a dock on the southern portion of SCP-3737. SCP-3737-1 is typically inaccessible, but can open at highly irregular intervals. These periods have been designated as reunion events and last exactly 24 hours before SCP-3737-1 reverts to its inaccessible state. The spontaneous appearance of a wall of fog on the bridge housing SCP-3737-1 indicates a reunion event. Passing through this wall is effectively entering SCP-3737-1. SCP-3737-2 is the collective designation for its inhabitants of SCP-3737, which are various species of animals commonly kept as household pets. Instances of SCP-3737-2 are all present in their adolescent age, and show no indications of poor health. These entities will engage in playful activities either with each other or with the various animal toys found in SCP-3737. No aggressive or territorial behavior has been observed in SCP-3737-2 instances. Exploration Log 3737-1A. Due to the rarity of its appearance, our research team was granted permission to explore the nature of SCP-3737-1 when it spontaneously opened on October 16, 2016. A security detail was assigned as a precautionary measure. All personnel were required to wear Class A environmental hazard suits until the location at the opposite at end of SCP-3737-1, later 3737, was deemed habitable. The transcript of the subsequent video has been added to this file. Begin transcript. The video is taken from the perspective of Dr. Lawrence's suit camera. The first few seconds show Dr. Lawrence behind Dr. McCall and Dr. Rostova as they approach SCP-3737-1 with Agents Crawford, Bartux, Alexander, and Ramirez flanking Dr. McCall, proceeding to enter the anomaly. The team crosses through the wall of fog. Camera feed glitches for approximately 2.4 seconds before being re-established. Frame shows the research team on SCP-3737's dock. Dr. Lawrence, is that a blue sky I'm seeing? Dr. McCall, I never thought I'd see something so mundane. Alexander, hold. Entities sighted on the beach. The frame shifts to show a group of canine SCP-3737-2 engaging with the length of a rope a few feet from the dock. They appear oblivious to the presence of the team. Ramirez, I have a clear shot. Alexander, hold. Do not engage. Dr. McCall turns to face Agent Alexander. Dr. McCall, they might be friendly. Alexander, I'd rather one of us determine that. Bartux, go and initiate contact with one of the entities. Bartux, aye, sir. Agent Bartux breaks away from the main group and approaches the SCP-3737-2 instances with his weapon raised. One of the instances, a male Airedale Terrier, notices Agent Bartux and turns to face him. The other instances remain oblivious. Alexander, if it moves in a way you don't like, shoot it. Bartux, aye. The instance moves in front of Agent Bartux and sits. Agent Bartux points his weapon at the entity. Bartux, advise. Alexander, hold your fire. Bartux, initiate physical contact with the entity. Crawford, Ramirez, be ready to engage. Agent Bartux extends his arm in front of the entity. It slowly approaches and places its head under Agent Bartux's hand. Bartux proceeds to rub the instance's head, which causes it to pant. Dr. McCall, that doesn't look very murderous to me. Dr. Rostova, you should know as well as anyone that anything has the capability to beat. Dr. Lawrence, Catherine, is this really the time? Dr. Rostova, what, Vernon? Am I not allowed to be cautious? Dr. Lawrence, being cautious and extremely presumptuous are two separate things. Dr. Rostova, I am not being presumptuous. I'm taking my job seriously. Dr. McCall, would you two be quiet? I think you're scaring them. Several of the instances have distanced themselves from the team. Ramirez, did they bring the whole zoo here or something? Bartux, hang on. This dog has a collar. Agent Bartux investigates the collar on SCP-3737-2 instance. Bartux, his name is Felix. Dr. Rostova, it has a name? Dr. Lawrence, they all have collars. Who do these things belong to? Alexander, I don't think that's important right now. We should continue moving. Several hours pass. The team explores several areas within SCP-3737. The island is revealed to contain several different terrains, including forests and prairies, along with more instances of SCP 3737-2. Crawford, has anyone noticed the sun hasn't moved since we got here? Dr. Lawrence, perhaps it is an anomalous property of the island. Who knows? An instance of SCP 3737-2, a female boxer, appears out of a nearby bush and approaches Dr. McCall. Dr. Lawrence, I guess she likes you. Dr. McCall, it appears she does. Dr. McCall notices the instance's blue collar. He pauses for a moment. Dr. Rosova, is everything all right, Ludwig? Dr. McCall, yes, everything is fine. That instance just reminds me of an old friend, is all. Bardux, I could check the name tag. Dr. McCall, it is extremely implausible that that friend is her. Bardux, no harm in trying then, Doctor. Permission to approach the entity. Alexander, granted. Be cautious. Agent Bardux crouches in front of the instance and inspects its name tag. Bardux, her name is Gypsy. Dr. McCall, that was her name. Dr. Rosova, so? I'm sure a lot of dogs are named Gypsy. What makes you think this one is her? Dr. McCall, Gypsy also had a blue collar. Dr. Lawrence, I remember you talking about Gypsy. I thought she died. Dr. McCall, she did. We had to put her down when I was 16. Dr. Lawrence, then what is she doing here? Dr. Rostova, it is still my best opinion that we do not get so... Dr. Rostova is alerted when another SCP-3737-2 instance appears. She turns to face a male Siamese cat wearing a black collar. Dr. Rostova, that's not possible. Dr. Lawrence, what is it, Catherine? Dr. Rosova approaches the instance and also removes her suit. She grabs the entity and holds it close to her chest, to which it begins purring. Dr. Rosova begins to cry. Bardux, the hell is going on here? Alexander, I have no idea. Doctor, mind explaining? Dr. Rosova, he looks just like my old Siamese. Same collar and everything. Even has his name tag. Dr. Lawrence, Catherine, I'd be very careful. This looks just like 3773. Dr. Rosova, this looks nothing like that, Vernon. Pike was batshit crazy, and so was her cat. Dr. Rosova spots a feather on a string, which did not show on the film prior to her arrival. She picks the stick up and proceeds to play with SCP-3737-2 instance. Dr. McCall has ceased interactions with his SCP-3737-2 instance to respond to his earpiece. Dr. McCall, that's odd. Dr. Lawrence, what is it, Ludwig? Dr. McCall, Bridge team is reading a loss of stability in the portal. They are suggesting we return to the camp as soon as possible. Ramirez, the dock isn't that far from here. An hour or two at least. Will it hold? Dr. McCall, they're saying it'll last for another 2 hours before it collapses. Dr. Rosova, wonderful. I can take Jasper and Dr. McCall can take Gypsy. Dr. Lawrence, Catherine, you know how strict we are about dimensional entities. I don't think I need to remind you what happens if we bring them back. Dr. Rostova, I can't just leave him here, Vernon. I don't want him getting lonely. Dr. McCall, we've seen plenty of other instances that seem very happy to provide company. We need to go, Catherine. Dr. Rosova, he was my best friend when I was a kid. I haven't seen him in years, and you expect me to just leave him? Just like that? Crawford, Dr. Rosova, it isn't safe for you here if you stay much longer. Dr. Rosova, it's my cat. If I want to bring him, I can. I take full responsibility. I don't see why you aren't happy to see your dog, Ludwig. Dr. McCall. Of course I'm happy to see her, Catherine. She was my best friend growing up as well. I would love having someone like her back, but she might not even exist. Even if she does, I don't want her going through the foundation. That wouldn't be right. Dr. Rosova. Fine. If you don't want to bring him back, that's fine. I'm still taking Jasper. Alexander. I think you should listen to Dr. Lawrence. I cannot permit you to bring something of that nature back with us. Dr. Rosova. I don't care about regulations, Alexander. It's a cat. It isn't going to kill you. Alexander. We don't know that yet, Doctor. Put it down. Dr. Rosova. He's coming with me, and that's that. Now, I suggest we return to the dock. Alexander. Dr. Rosova. I will be forced to place you in quarantine if you do not release the entity. Dr. Rosova. So be it. Jasper is coming back with me. Dr. Rosova carries her SCP-3737-2 instance as the research team returns to the dock. Dr. McCall's SCP-3737-2 instance has been following behind. Crawford. Everyone accounted for? Dr. Lawrence. I believe so. Alexander. Good. Let's get this over with. Dr. McCall. Wait. Dr. Lawrence. What's wrong? Dr. McCall. I never got the chance to say goodbye to Gypsy. My father took her to the vet and I didn't go. I'd like to say my goodbyes before we go. You know, just in case. Alexander. Doctor, we don't have much time. Dr. McCall. I know, Alexander. Just give me a moment. Alexander. All right. Hurry, though. Dr. McCall turns and kneels to face his SCP-3737-2 instance. He begins to rub its head. Dr. McCall. Goodbye, girl. Thank you for always being there for me. I love you very much. Dr. McCall proceeds to hug the instance. The team then crosses into SCP-3737-1. Upon reaching the other side, Dr. Rosova notices her SCP-3737-2 instance is no longer in her arms. Agent Crawford and Agent Bardix restrain her as she attempts to cross back into SCP-3737-1. SCP-3737-1 then becomes unstable and closes. The fog dissipates. Dr. Rosova. Data redacted. End transcript. Addendum 3737-1B. Investigation into the nature of SCP-3737-2 has been postponed until SCP-3737-1 becomes stable. Upon further analysis, the caller tags found on SCP-3737-2 instances featured no extraneous information besides the name of the instance. The appearance of various pet toys in SCP-3737 is also currently being investigated. Addendum 3737-2B. Dr. Catherine Roosevelt was placed into quarantine following her return under the suspicion she was suffering from mimetic effects. She was released a week later after clearing several cognitohazard screenings. Dr. Rostova is to meet with Site-24's psychiatrist on a weekly basis until such a time where she is deemed emotionally stable. Footnotes. Since its opening on October 6, 2016, SCP-3737-1 has not reopened. It looks to me that SCP-3737 is like the afterlife for pets that have passed away. And I think that's really neat. But yes, good morning, Nine. Hello, JC. Going forward, as I'm reading the SCP entries, if anyone does say anything in chat, I will respond to them in chat, like text chat, and then we'll begin talking like normal when I'm done with the entry. Also, why are you so surprised about that, Bear? It's pretty easy when you have multiple monitors. Chat, if you are enjoying stream, please don't forget to hit that follow button. We are one follower away from 300. Okay. Next up is SCP 004 J. Object class was once Euclid, now Thaumiel. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Special containment procedures. The entity is currently housed in the Site 08 North Wing, Accounts Payable Office, from Monday to Friday between the hours of 0800 to 1700 hours local, with 1 hour from 1200 to 1300 hours local spent in the North Cafeteria, or transversing from there back to his desk. The entity may occasionally need to use the restroom, take breaks by walking the North Wing corridor, or receive water from the water fountain. In the long term, the entity can be contained by biannual performance reviews indicating that we are pleased but think the entity is capable of more, and annual raises equivalent to rate of inflation plus 4 percentage points. The entity may also be enticed to remain in containment by pointing out the low cost of living, easy commute, and quality public parks. Description: SCP-004-J is Stanley Nichols, a certified public accountant, CPA, University of Michigan, 1978, and former chief financial officer for Redacted, currently employed by the Foundation. SCP-004-J is roughly 180 centimeters tall and weighs roughly 75 kilograms, Caucasian with thinning brown hair and brown eyes. The entity has been in the Foundation containment since July 1991, ostensibly in reply to a job posting. The anomalous properties of the entity manifested after the job was awarded during mandatory psych and low-level amnestic administration. The staffer assigned to the task flatly refused to administer amnestics to the entity, claiming that SCP-004-J was a real visionary and that it would be a waste of drugs and a needless CapEx hit. After a brief convention by the hiring department, the Compulsion and Cognitohazard Unit, and Site-04's subject matter expert on hazardous humanoids, the agreement was made to contain SCP-004-J under the premises of hiring them for the desired position in accounts payable. SCP-004-J appears to be a very capable accountant and has made commendable efforts in both lowering our annual capital expenditures budget while streamlining our vendor and purchase process for operating expenditures. Furthermore, their holistic approach to purchasing and leveraging the growth internalization of the supply chain has caused a sea change in our view of their synergistic possibilities to create a budget-conscious deliverable, leading to a paradigm shift of crowdsourced. It appears the entity was in my vicinity briefly. To summarize, SCP-004-J has a distinct cognitohazardous field that will interfere with thought processes, overriding thought patterns with new ones that encourage growing a business through a set of jargon commonly used by C-level executives, buzzwords, while also impairing the ability to think critically. CT scans of Foundation employees in the field of SCP-004-J show a lowered neuron excitement state in the occipital cortex and the hippocampus. SCP-004-J was classified as Euclid in August of 1991. SCP-004-J was reclassed as Thaumiel in October 1992, following a near-total containment breach in August of 1992 caused by structural damage suffered during Hurricane Andrew on Site redacted, during which SCP-004-J was exposed to SCP-106, which is classed Keter and invariably hostile to human life. Rather than panic or hide, SCP-004-J began discussing the importance of residual income and annuities when structuring a quarterly budget. SCP-106 appeared ramped with attention, materialized a business card, and agreed to join SCP-004-J for a lunch and learn at his soonest convenience. Further testing has shown that the cognitohazard surrounding SCP-004-J affects not only humanoids, but every sentient life form that has been exposed. In furtherance of a hypothesis posed by Drs. McKinley and White, SCP-004-J was stationed outside the containment cell of SCP-682, and at a safe distance but close enough to have the notorious creature in its cognitohazardous field. Audio follows. SCP-682. Kill. Inaudible. Killing. Dr. White. SCP-682. Could you repeat that? SCP-682. Killing. Bottom. Line. Dr. White. I'm sorry? SCP-682. Amortization. Buying in this economy. Sucker bet. Dr. White. SCP-682. Do you own property here? SCP-682. Synergize assets. Leverage intellectual capital for flagship product. Note from researcher. At this point, 3 common white mice are introduced to SCP-682's containment cell. SCP-682 normally devours prey on sight. SCP-682. A conference call. I sense redundancies. We must smarticize to better push the envelope in our core competencies. SCP-682 then dismembers and eats 2 of the 3 mice. SCP-682. I hope they find their severance suitable. Audio ends. So in case you guys didn't pick this up, SCP-004-J is essentially Stan from accounting. Isn't that amusing? SCP-1005. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1005 is to be maintained at Site-17 in a 3M by 3M by 3M holding room, equipped with dim lighting. SCP-1005 has no nutritional requirements aside from a need to maintain hydration levels. Humidity in holding chamber should be kept at a minimum of 70% when possible, and at least 1 liter of water provided for consumption daily. SCP-1005 also does not need to sleep, but has requested a chair in which to relax when not undergoing study. Granted. SCP-1005 also does not produce any waste, losing water only to evaporation, thus minimal cleanup is required. SCP-1005 has volunteered to give its chamber a monthly cleaning to prevent buildup of paint residue. Under consideration. Due to ongoing good behavior and amicable attitude, SCP-1005 has been granted permission to explore non-secured sections of SCP-17 and utilize social rooms, provided it is accompanied by at least 1 Level 2 researcher and 1 Level 1 security agent. Update. By requests of maintenance crews, SCP-1005 is required to wear coverings over its feet when leaving its chamber. Description: SCP-1005 is a sapient humanoid entity composed of semi-solid blue paint, with exact shades ranging from near white to deep navy. The surface of SCP-1005 has an average tensile strength approximately 75% that of human skin. This includes its clothing. SCP-1005 is unable to consciously control the viscosity or shape of its overall form beyond the normal locomotion of a humanoid body. It can, however, control its outer layer to a point where it can choose whether or not its paint will smear on contacting surfaces. The degree to which SCP-1005 is able to control itself in such a manner it becomes lessened if overhydrated. SCP-1005 is the shape of a bald human male, approximately 1.9 meters tall, and has demonstrated the ability to speak with a deep and resonant voice. Despite this, SCP-1005 has no gender and physical structure or personal identity. The apparent clothing is integrated as if skin, save for the shirt at the sleeves and lower hem, and the pants below the ankles. Only SCP-1005's shoes are fully unique. It is believed that they were created separately from the rest of SCP-1005 from the beginning. The process by which SCP-1005 was animated and remains so is not known. By its own admission, SCP-1005 only remembers becoming aware only a few minutes before its reclamation during a raid at an auction being held by Marshall Carter and Dark Ltd., where it was up for bid alongside several items which had been under Foundation investigation, specifically data expunged. As SCP-1005 originally had no sense of self-worth, identity, or purpose, the Mobile Task Force enacting the raid was to convince SCP-1005 that it belonged to the Foundation and had been stolen. It willingly entered custody and was transferred to the MTF staging area before permanent relocation to Site 17. To date, SCP-1005 has been extremely cooperative with researchers, showing a polite and professional attitude. SCP-1005 lacks most complex emotions beyond levels of satisfaction and comfort, and has demonstrated only limited facial expressions outside of movements required to speak. Additionally, SCP-1005 seems to lack the ability to understand abstract concepts. It is perfectly able to count, speaks fluent English with a slight northern Midwest American accent, and can perform simple tasks. Complicated mathematics, emotional responses, and existential topics such as religion leave SCP-1005 confused, usually stating that it simply does not understand. The only driving force behind SCP-1005 is its desire to make its owner happy with it, usually through cooperating with testing protocols, but also while serving as entertainment or still life living artwork for personnel during recreational periods. Research with clearance level 2 or higher, access or advised to read document 1005-01478 for an abbreviated listing of testing logs concerning SCP-1005. I wouldn't say that it's quite friendly or wholesome, but I would say, if anything, this SCP is neutral and compliant. That is quite interesting, though. Okay. Hmm. Are you guys actually enjoying these ASMR streams? Well, so you know what? I think I will save 999 for last, as 999 is one of my favorites. You are? Alright, that's good. I'm guessing y'all are just kind of lurking and listening. I suppose there isn't really too much to comment on, is there? Alright. Okay, next up is SCP-458. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-458 is considered safe and therefore is to be stored in the staff canteen at Site-17, with no access restrictions required. Description: SCP-458 is a large-sized pizza box from the pizza chain Little Caesars, of their hot and ready variety. It is made of a simple cardboard, measures 25.4 centimeters by 25.4 centimeters by 2.54 centimeters, or 10 inches by 10 inches by 1 inch, and weighs about 20 to 20.49 grams depending on toppings. As a result of the unusual nature of SCP-458, measurement of weight is inconsistent. What makes SCP-458 an oddity is that, while appearing to be an ordinary pizza box, when it comes into contact with human hands, it instantaneously replicates within the holder's subconsciously preferred choice of pizza, down to their favorite sauce, cheese, crust, and topping. It is not limited to the Little Caesars brand, as pizza from all major pizza chains, as well as local and even handmade pizzas, have been produced. There seems to be no limit to its ability, except that it cannot make anything but pizza, and its toppings must be edible by normal human standards. See Addendum 1A. The box is also rather indestructible, as all tests to destroy or dismantle the box have proven fruitless. It is assumed the box is semi-sentient, having at least enough telepathic or empathetic ability to sense what the holder's personal choices regarding pizza are. After constant testing showed SCP-458's seemingly infinite power to generate pizza, but with little other use, it has henceforth been placed inside the canteen at Site-17 for free use by personnel. After its open usage has been allowed, personal morale has shown to have sharply increased. Addendum 1A. Upon testing SCP-458 with SCP redacted, the subject took a bite of the slice, which appeared to be a garlic-free slice of sausage and olive pizza on wheat crust. This was met with the response, "It's a fine slice, but I would have preferred a rather different sauce." It was inferred that the box cannot use substances that are indigestible by regular human bodies. Further testing confirmed this. Addendum 1B. Please see document number 458-1A. Document number 458-1A. I would just like to remind all staff that just because we have a pizza box that can constantly create pizzas for you does not mean that you can just sit around and eat pizza all afternoon. If continued abuse of the box continues, coupled with reports of personnel gaining unhealthy amounts of weight, I may be forced to implement a mandatory physical training regimen following lunch hours. Dr. Del Moreno. Document number 458-1B. For simple curiosity's sake, and to perhaps get a better idea of the mindset of certain SCPs, I have compiled a list of sentient SCPs' reactions when holding the box. SCP-040. Small, extra cheese, cheese stuffed crust. SCP-056. Medium, sliced bell peppers, thin crust, Alfredo sauce. SCP-073. Medium, feta and jack cheese, no sauce, thin crust. SCP-076-2. Large, meatballs, pepperoni, bacon, Canadian bacon, sausage, hamburger, thick crust. SCP-105. Small, olives, wheat crust, thin. SCP-108-1. Large, pepperoni, thick crust. SCP-134. Small, onions, anchovies, olives, thin crust. SCP-166. Small, oregano, olives, no sauce, thin crust. SCP-181. Large, pepperoni, sausage, marinara stuffed crust. Okay, well, I want a marinara stuffed crust pizza now. SCP-182. Medium, olives, mushrooms, pretzel dough crust. SCP-343. Large, almost every topping imaginable, with over 100 distinct foods identified. SCP-378 and SCP-378-1. SCP-378-1 produce a large thin crust pizza with pesto sauce, ricotta, mushrooms, and fried mealworms. SCP-378 itself could not activate SCP-458. SCP-3300-1. Large, extra cheese and pepperoni, wet when removed from box. SCP-3477 Medium anchovies. All instances produced identical pizzas with identically arranged toppings. Dr. Michael's large Hawaiian, meaning tomato sauce, honey baked ham, pineapple, extra mozzarella cheese with Tabasco. SCP-4504 Medium egg, bacon, barbecue sauce base, thick crust. SCP-4999 Extra large, half supreme, half pepperoni. POI-3445 and SCP-5175-1 Wielding SCP-5175, POI-3445 produced large pizza with mozzarella cheese stuffed crust, a barbecue sauce base, bacon bits, bacon strips, ground beef, ham, pepperoni, sausage, and a dusting of crushed chili cheese Fritos. SCP-5175-1 contributed teriyaki sauce. Further testing on SCPs may reveal some odd characteristics about the SCPs themselves and is suggested. Dr. Crane. Update. Further cross-testing is permitted, but requires approval and supervision due to safety concerns. Dr. Redacted. Footnotes. Almost immediately after SCP-458, the produced pizza began to go through symptoms similar to other organic material within SCP-073's effect radius. Experiment was retired, and the pizza being removed from SCP-458 immediately after its opening with minor deterioration present. When queried by researchers, SCP-073 stated it had never ingested products created by SCP-458. After SCP-166 ate a slice of pizza from SCP-458, SCP-166 complained about occasional moderate discomfort and nausea. The effects stopped after approximately 20 hours. SCP-181 was told that this was a reward for good behavior, and that it was a lucky guess that it was his favorite type of pizza. SCP-4999 shared the pizza with D-430276, who was suffering from end-stage renal disease. Notably, this was the same variety D-430276 frequently shared with her late partner, and the first known case of SCP-458 accommodating a pizza which exceeds its volume. Through POI-3445, SCP-5175-1 claims to have never tasted teriyaki sauce. It emerged as a modern fusion recipe and is not traditional Japanese cuisine. SCP-5175-1 acquired a liking for the sauce after conversation with POI-3445, who regularly ordered chicken teriyaki at the marketplace at Steamtown's food court. Well, I wish I had an SCP-458. Definitely would not be good for my diet, though. Not that that's been going well anymore. I've kind of run out of my diet food, so now I've just been eating regular things, just trying to be careful with the portion sizing. Item 4999. Level 3 Confidential. Containment Class Heater. Disruption Class EKHI. Risk Class Notice. Special Containment Procedures. Due to SCP-4999's unwillingness or inability to appear before more than one person at a time, in addition to the subsequent and immediate death of any who witness it firsthand, SCP-4999 is effectively self-containing. Any reports of SCP-4999 manifestations captured by security camera feeds, photographs, or similar are to be investigated and the media confiscated for analysis. All second-hand witnesses among the civilian populace are to be amnesticized. Description: SCP-4999 is a humanoid entity of unknown origins and composition. Its physical appearance varies, with dark formal wear being the only constant between manifestations. Due to the rarity of recorded SCP-4999 manifestation events and the highly specific circumstances in which they occur, little data concerning its nature or intent is available. However, its behavior is consistent across all recorded sightings. SCP-4999 will manifest only in the presence of one solitary human person at a time. All subjects recorded to date have been in terminally poor health, critically injured, or on their deathbeds, with SCP-4999 appearing nearby and within sight of the individual not more than 20 minutes before their expiration. SCP-4999 will only appear if the subject is conscious and alone. It will not appear if the subject is comatose, asleep, or unconscious, nor will it appear if they are being cared for by, in the company of, or otherwise being directly observed by another person. Upon manifestation, the entity will seat itself directly adjacent to the subject's bed, if such furniture is available. If not, it will remain standing or sit on the floor/ground in whatever configuration will allow it direct physical access to the subject without causing disturbance. Once situated, it will remove a pack of cigarettes from its left inside jacket pocket and offer one to the subject. If the subject objects, SCP-4999 will place it between their lips, remove one for itself, and light both. If the subject declines, SCP-4999 will light and remove and smoke the cigarette instead. The entity will make physical contact with the subject, typically via holding their hand, placing its hand atop theirs, or resting its hand on their shoulder. Thank you, Dan, for the reset for 9 months. Please make sure to take care of my pup. It did indeed keep going. And the reason why I say pup is because that's what you call baby sharks. Pups. Anyways, thank you, Dun. Okay, back to our SCP. SCP-4999 will then remain with the subject, silent and unmoving, until they have passed away. SCP-499 has not been seen to engage in any other activity or behavior and demanifests immediately upon the subject's death. The subject's cigarette, however, will remain, providing the only evidence of SCP-4999's presence. No subject thus far has been seen to recoil from or otherwise resist the entity, nor have any attempted to engage it in conversation despite multiple instances of subjects acknowledging the entity's presence via eye contact, adjusting posture to reciprocate or facilitate the entity's touch, breaking into tears when noticing its presence, or verbally thanking the entity when offered a cigarette. Individuals affected by SCP-4999 share a number of common attributes. Research into identified subjects has indicated that SCP-4999 is more likely to appear if an individual lives alone, is non-religious, is impoverished or homeless, displays a history of mental illness, is a military veteran, has no criminal record or has never been convicted of a violent crime, has no current surviving family, is unmarried or otherwise lacks a significant other, has little to no social standing in their community, does not exhibit any record of significant professional or personal accomplishments, has few to no mutually beneficial interpersonal relationships, or exhibits qualities of and life history that have rendered the individual nondescript, anonymous, neglected, or otherwise unremarkable or insignificant by the standard of their respective society. No testing involving SCP-4999 has been authorized or attempted due to available data indicating that observation of a subject precludes its manifestations as well as ethical concerns. Discovery: SCP-499 was initially discovered as a result of its emerging status as an urban legend, with footage of the entity appearing on hospital security cameras worldwide being disseminated via the internet and various television programs. A minor disinformation program was put into effect to maintain this public image, and SCP-4999 was officially registered on November 27, 1998. In the years following SCP-4999's classification, additional research and cross-referencing with accounts of similar phenomena have suggested that while concrete evidence of SCP-4999 appearances has become more commonplace due to the advent of photography and video recording technology in the modern era, writings and artistic descriptions of a figure exhibiting similar properties, behavior, and physical resemblance to SCP-4999 exist throughout world history, culture, and mythology, with some accounts being thousands of years old, in some cases predating human civilization. It is not currently understood how pre-modern cultures would have been capable of detecting SCP-4999's presence. Investigation is ongoing. I wonder if I'll see SCP-4999 when my time comes. Maybe something to look forward to. Though I must say, don't smoke, kids. Vaping isn't great either, but at least, it's not an actual cigarette. Okay. SCP-2295. Another one of my favorites. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-2295 is to be kept in a standard containment locker within Storage Wing 25 in Site 37. Personnel with level 3 or higher security clearance are authorized to perform tests on SCP-2295 after filling out the appropriate paperwork. Please contact Dr. Garris Gurgis if required. Access to SCP-2295 is expected to exceed 24 hours. Description: SCP-2295 is a patchwork stuffed bear, approximately 0.46 meters from head to foot, and stuffed with synthetic fiber and cotton. SCP-2295 has a small, anatomically correct pin of a heart on the left side of its thorax, and a bow wrapped around its neck. The fabric and color of SCP-2295's patches vary. Tests confirm that no components of SCP-2295 contain any anomalous chemical properties. SCP-2295 enters an active state when within 2 meters of a human sustaining major trauma to an organ. When in the proximity of 2 or more possible subjects, SCP-295 will invariably choose the youngest subject. SCP-2295 will anonymously produce scissors, white thread, and either sewing needles or a crocheting hook from its mouth, and use any fabric and stuffing in close proximity. To fashion an instance of SCP-2295-1, a patchwork imitation of the subject's organ, SCP-2295-1 vanishes from sight and the subject falls into a state of unconsciousness. SCP-2295-1 instances then replace the subject's damaged organ via anomalous means. The whereabouts of organs replaced this way are undetermined. If there is no usable material in close proximity, SCP-2295 will use fabric and stuffing from itself. SCP-2295 regenerates 1 gram of stuffing every day until completely replacing any lost or used stuffing. Note that fabric used this way does not regenerate, and additional fabric must be placed near SCP-2295 for the purpose of self-mending. Instances of SCP-2295-1 successfully carry out their respective functions despite the numerous expected biological, chemical, and medical incompatibilities. Once the subject, adjacent tissues and veins attached to the imitated organ without observable complications. There have been no cases of rejected SCP-2295-1 instances, and all subjects recorded at the time of writing made full recoveries. Test Log 2295. Testing approved to test the limitations of SCP-2295. Materials provided within testing chamber. Test Log. Subject D-2353, 38 years old. Diagnosis: lungs heavily damaged as a result of 25 years of smoking. Notes: SCP-2295 creates SCP-2295-1 using 1 black textile swatch and 1 red textile swatch. New lungs act at a capacity similar to those of healthy adult lungs. Subject D-3452, 40 years old. Diagnosis: frequent heart palpitations and severe atherosclerosis. Notes: SCP-2295 crochets SCP-2295-1 using various surrounding yarns. SCP-2295-1 observed to have a heartbeat before vanishing. Transfer successful. How SCP-2295-1 manages to perform function despite absorbent properties of material and multiple gaps in design is unknown. Symptoms no longer present in subject. Subject D7894, 24 years old. Diagnosis: first and second degree burns raging throughout upper torso, left lateral and right leg. D7894, sedated during testing. SCP-2295 sews two 5 meter by 5 meters sections of patchwork fabric. SCP-2295 cuts approximately sized swatches and manually places one layer onto subjects' affected areas, creating multiple instances of SCP-2295-1, and then repeats this process. The created SCP-2295-1 layers act as dermis and epidermis, and upon recovery, D-7894 claims to have retained feeling and replaced skin. Subject makes a full recovery. Subject D2723, 18 years old. Diagnosis: cerebral hemorrhaging. Notes: SCP-2295 grasps various materials in its proximity in a distressed state for approximately 1 minute. SCP-2295 then anonymously produces a redacted Dove's Milk Chocolate King-size candy bar and offers it to subject. SCP-2295 spends rest of tests embracing subject's lower right leg while anonymously producing a saline solution from its eyes. Addendum: Document 2295 was recovered, taped to SCP-2295 inside the site of a crashed mail delivery vehicle. Document 2295 is a red Get Well card with the text Kairos the Bear written on the front. Recovered document 2295. Contents of document 2295. To Tommy. Because only time can mend all wounds. Love, Grammy. Footnotes: materials have included yarn, textile, cloth, cotton, silk, synthetic fiber, polyester, wool, and thread. How SCP-2295 is capable of the dexterity needed for these actions is unknown. What a good bear. Good job, Kairos. Kairos the healing bear. It seems like all around Kairos sure does help people, huh? Whether it's in his human form or bear form, so to speak. Alright, next up is SCP-3338. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. All known instances of SCP-3338 and the individual sharing a living space with them are to be monitored regularly via non-invasive methods. Foundation personnel are to conduct bi-monthly interviews with the human tenants under the guise of maintaining compliance with building safety regulations. Removal of SCP-3338 instances and application of amnestics to corresponding tenants may only be carried out with the approval from the current project head. Description: SCP-3338 refers to anomalous automaton instruments which spontaneously manifests in apartments, townhouses, and college dorm rooms in various urban areas of Japan. Though rarely documented and lacking in replicable experimental data, SCP-3338 cases are believed to possess several events consistent across all instances. SCP-3338 will only manifest in living areas currently being rented by a single individual with stable finances who has occupied the space for at least 3 months. SCP-3338 tend to appear when the renter listens to music frequently, plays a musical instrument as a hobby, and/or enjoys singing. SCP-3338 instances manifesting will be accompanied by a small scrap of paper held in the instrument's mouth, reading, "Oh, hold on. I think I can read this. Automaton wa anata no rumeto ni naritai desu," which I believe should mean automaton wants to be your roommate. SCP-338 instances upon initial manifestation will typically appear inside the living space near the main entrance doorway. Once a month, an SCP-3338 instance's mouth will fill with Japanese yen paper money totaling approximately 10 to 15% of the tenant's monthly rent fee. Money generated by this method has been determined to be legal, non-counterfeit currency. SCP-3338 are visually identical to non-anomalous automaton instruments and will function similarly to their non-anomalous counterparts when played. Individuals who have encountered SCP-3338 have reported that the anomalous automatons will assist them with finding small lost objects, including keys, public transportation tickets, identification cards, loose change, jewelry, and socks. SCP-3338 will disappear from their corresponding living space when certain circumstances are met. Currently following scenarios are confirmed to result in demanifestation of an SCP-3338 instance. The renting tenant changing living locations. The renting tenant placing SCP-3338 outside the living space's entrance threshold for more than 1 day. The renting tenant jokingly inserting trash, dirty articles of clothing, or other debris into the SCP-3338 instance's mouth. The renting tenant making rude comments about SCP-3338's instance, or attempting to use SCP-3338 as a decoration or piece of furniture. The renting tenant failing to set aside a designated place for the SCP-3338 instance to occupy comfortably. The instance of SCP-3338 having resided in a living space for over 1 year. The renting tenant failing to speak to the SCP-3338 instance for over a week. The renting tenant forgetting about the SCP-3338's instances existing due to application of amnestics. cameras of any type, hidden, cell phone, handheld, filming an SCP-3338 instance at rest for longer than 15 minutes. The application of tracking devices to an SCP-3338 instance. Also, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the friendly shark-infested waters, and thank you for being our 300th follower. Addendum 3338-1 on redacted. Agent Shizuka Kato was able to trigger an SCP-3338 manifestation following a routine checkup appointment with an SCP-3338 tenant. During the checkup, Agent Kato had expressed an interest in finding a co-occupant for her current apartment, emphasizing the comfortable furniture and the proximity to a neighboring building that housed a jazz club. Upon Agent Kato returning to her apartment, she noticed an SCP-3338 instance had manifested on a side table close to the door. Discussion is underway to allow Kato to occupy the apartment for longer than the agreed contract time to better research the instance of SCP-3338. See Addendum 3338-2. Addendum 3338-2. As of redacted, roughly 37 weeks following the initial manifestation of an SCP-3338 instance in Agent Kato's apartment, a small mini automaton instrument of the same color manifested next to the existing SCP-3338 instance. After reporting the incidents, Agent Kato prepared a resting spot for the new, smaller SCP-3338 instance, tentatively designated SCP-3338-1, using a set of towels. Upon returning home the next day, she discovered the two automatons sitting side by side with a messily scrawled note in SCP-3338-1 instance's mouth, reading, I need to brush up on my hiragana, it seems. Hold on. It read, Oba-chan wa arigato. Oh, it called her grandma. But it basically said, thank you, grandma. Or, actually, no. It said, thank you, auntie. Personnel assigned to the SCP-338 project are currently deciding how best to proceed. Music note-shaped handheld electronic musical synthesizer toys developed in Japan by the Cube Toy Company and the Meiwa Denki design firm. Automaton instruments are played by controlling the pitch of the sound with one hand on the stem and squeezing the head of the instrument with the other hand to produce a wah effect. SCP-338 manifestation seems to occur independently of any roommate-seeking advertisements. Automaton wa anata no roommate ni naritai desu. Translate, automaton wants to be your roommate. Oh, well, it did give me footnotes for that, thank you. According to the interview testimony, these lost objects will be found in the automaton's mouth upon the tenants returning to the living space after having left the building. The likelihood of finding a lost object allegedly increases if the automaton is spoken to about the missing article. All attempts to track SCP-3338 following the manifestations have failed. Based on observed cases, leaving SCP-3338 on the ground in a bathroom or near trash receptacles has resulted in demanifestation. Video footage of a human playing an SCP-3338 instance seems to be an exception to this. A smaller version of the standard automaton which plays preset songs rather than individual notes. Oba-chan wa arigato translated. Thank you, auntie. I would like automaton. Also, baby automaton. I don't know about you guys, but I think that would be pretty cute. Okay. $11 more to go. Okay. SCP-2822. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. A perimeter is to be established in the valleys surrounding the Foundation acquired residence at the foot of Madone di Camedo. I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry. Which functions as a rendezvous point for Foundation personnel and SCP-2822. 4 security officers and 5 research staff members are to be stationed at the... Does somebody want to give me a... Is it Madone di Camito? Home? The perimeter is to be patrolled by security personnel 3 times a day with rotating shifts. Should a non-authorized individual attempt to enter the perimeter, they are to be turned away with the explanation that the land is privately owned and undergoing environmental restoration. Yes, me too, 9. I would like to have a roommate that helps pay rent and finds my lost items. And also gives me grandbabies. Level 2 security clearance is required for direct interaction with SCP-2822. If an instance of SCP-2822-B is isolated from the population of SCP-2822-A, personnel are to guide SCP-2822-A individual to accompany them in retrieval of the 2822-B instance. Grass and other vegetation within the perimeter is to be routinely trimmed to ensure SCP-2822 visibility. SCP-2822-B are to be washed monthly, and a count of individuals is to be performed daily to identify any new additions to the population. Description: SCP-28 Oops. SCP-2822 is a collective designation for 2 populations of rock-based anomalous entities, SCP-2822-A and SCP-2822-B. SCP-2822-A are humanoid entities comprised of tightly packed crushed stone, calcite gravel, standing approximately 30 centimeters in height. The chemical makeup of SCP-2822-A is consistent with that of sedimentary rock samples taken from the initial discovery site. SCP-2822-A individuals lack digits and facial features and do not appear to be capable of verbal communication. SCP-2822-A are able to move autonomously using bipedal locomotion, but tend to remain stationary for long periods of time. SCP-2822 instances do not appear to need any form of sustenance. SCP-2822-B are mineral solids of various shapes and sizes. Relative to SCP-2822-A dimensions, will universally demonstrate independent locomotion, usually through rolling. When in the presence of other SCP-2822-B instances, SCP-2822-B engage in social behaviors, e.g., herding, grazing on mosses and lichens, common to domesticated animal livestock. Currently, 36 specimens of SCP-2822-B have been identified and tagged. Of note, 13 SCP-2822-B were created under Foundation surveillance. Field observations have indicated that instances of SCP-2822-B are most commonly generated when an SCP-2822 2822-A individual makes physical contact with a mineral solid for an extended period of time, usually by holding a stone in its hands. SCP-2822-A exhibit discerning behavior when selecting new material for SCP-2822-B instances and tend to favor roughly spherical stones 10 to 20 centimeters in diameter and ranging in weight from 2 to 4 kilograms. Additionally, any material solids contaminated with artificial materials, including plastics, will be ignored by SCP-2822-A. Currently, the Foundation has recorded the following notable attributes of SCP-2822-B individuals. Preference for falling the remaining within 10 meters of SCP-2822-A. Ability to distinguish between individual SCP-2822-A entities and potentially imprinting on specific SCP-2822-A entities as caretakers. Defensive behaviors including rolling at increased speeds to disrupt nesting birds. Growing a coat of progressive layers of moss and lichen. Chemical analysis of moss samples taken from SCP-2822-B indicates no anomalous substances present. Maturation, as evidenced by incremental size increases. Development of a small hollow cavity similar to those of geodes when the individual has exceeded 50 centimeters in diameter. Addendum 2822-1 SCP-2822 initially came to Foundation attention following reports of unusual landslides in the Madone di Camido mountain in Switzerland. I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Amina Favre, an elderly citizen of Seville inhabiting a small residence at the foot of the mountain, was noted to have traveled on foot regularly to Madone di Camido. Foundation inspection revealed that she did so in order to interact with SCP-2822. When questioned, Favre claimed that she had been visiting the mountain for 13 years and had become familiar with SCP-2822 to the point of giving both SCP-2822-A and SCP-2822-B instances names and bathing SCP-2822-B instances regularly. Favre was granted Foundation protection and allowed to continue visiting SCP-2822. She passed away 6 months following her contact with Foundation agents at the age of 87. As per her wishes, Foundation personnel interred Favre at Madone di Camido in the presence of SCP-2822-A. Upon the first direct contact with Foundation individuals, SCP-2822-B ignored the personnel, while SCP-2822-A instances maintained a moderate distance when approached. Subsequent visits involving Foundation staff carrying buckets of soapy water were met with curiosity and eventual enthusiasm from SCP-2822-A individuals, which proceeded to make simple gestures to SCP-2822-B instances indicating a preference for what order they should be cleaned in. At the time of containment establishment, there were 3 recorded instances of SCP-2822-A and 23 recorded instances of SCP-2822-B. Addendum 2822-2 on redacted. A new instance of SCP-2822-A was noticed among the population of SCP-2822. The new instance was accompanied by a pair of SCP-2822-B individuals, possessing an unusual composition of marble and limestone. The current SCP-2822 A was population quickly accepted the new instance into the group following a brief examination of the new 2822-B. The range of stone materials SCP-2822-A are familiar with is unknown. Of note, SCP-2822-A have been known to exhibit some familiarity with Mother of Pearl, as per testimony related to Foundation personnel by Amina Favre describing how SCP-2822 reacted to various trinkets she brought to them. Addendum 2822-3. As of approximately 7 months following Amina Favre's passing, SCP-2822-A had been noted to visit Favre's grave to leave swaths of moss taken from SCP-2822-B over the headstone. On redacted, the entire SCP-2822 population visited Favre's grave, led by an SCP-2822-A individual holding a new instance of SCP-2822-B, believed to have been generated from an existing 2822-B individual. The new instance possessed a vivid blue correlation, believed to be due to the metamorphic rock composition containing lapis lazuli. As of that time, only 2 SCP-2822-B individuals were known to possess metamorphic rock compositions. Subsequent imaging of SCP-2822-B population found that 3 mature 2822-B individuals were carrying small stones within their hollow cavity. Footnotes: specimens of SCP-2822-B that do not exceed 3 kilograms in weight or have sustained damage are observed to slide smoothly along surfaces instead. That's kind of cute. It's basically like a rock family. Chad, have you ever had pet rocks as kids? I did. That is unfortunate. You have a pet rock in Final Fantasy? Nice. Exactly, Tammy. Exactly. Oh my. This is actually a lot more reading than I expected to do. Shall we keep going? Yeah? Alright. SCP-2091. Object Class. Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-2091-1 and SCP-2091-2 are to be housed in Site-282. SCP-2091-1 is to be kept in a standard animal containment unit. SCP-2091-2 is to be kept in a Type S humanoid anomaly containment cell. Requests submitted from SCP-2091-2 for various entertainment are to be approved on a case-by-case basis as behavior permits. Once every 2 weeks for 90 minutes, SCP-2091-1 and SCP-2091-2 are allowed to interact with each other in SCP-2091-1's containment unit under supervision from a Level 2 researcher and a security guard. Description: SCP-2091-1 is a sculpture of an Ursus Arctos terribilis grizzly bear, 2.1 meters tall at the shoulder and 2.1 meters in length. It is made out of polymer clay, with documentation recovered at its discovery point dating its creation to 1994. Ultrasound testing has shown cavities within SCP-2091 corresponding with the location of organs found within grizzly bears, despite no biological tissues being detected, with no mechanisms to give it the ability to move. Various parts of its body has been replaced with patches of grass and two toes replaced with materials from a watch. SCP-2091-1 is unable to move itself or perform any actions unless within 15 meters of SCP-2091-2. SCP-2091-2 is a human female by the name of Abigail Harlow, 20 years of age. Background checks and interviews during its time at the Foundation revealed no apparent history of anomalous abilities prior to SCP-2091-1 gaining its anomalous traits in 1998. When SCP-2091-1 is within 15 meters of SCP-2091-2, SCP-2091-1 displays locomotion and behavioral traits commonly associated with grizzly bears. It will attempt to stay close to SCP-2091-2 whenever possible, and attack organisms it perceives to be threatening or harmful to SCP-2091-2. SCP-2091-2 has claimed to be able to understand SCP-2091-1, saying it is its grandfather. Whenever within the area of effect, SCP-2091-2 has been observed talking to SCP-2091-1 and conversing with it. Although SCP-2091-1 has never been observed talking. During its active state, SCP-2091-1 has the ability to repair any damage to its body by swallowing a variety of material, having a preference for clay when given a choice. Addendum 2091-A. A search of the house at Woodbine, Georgia, where SCP-2091-1 and -2 were discovered revealed journals, notes, and photographs belonging to who is presumed to be SCP-2091-2's grandfather, David Lennox, as well as an art studio belonging to him. Obituaries dated to February 13, 1998 confirmed his death, though no body has been found. Court documentation shows that POI-962 Jonathan Harmon is the legal guardian of SCP-2091-2, though no other documentation relating to Mr. Harmon has been found. The majority of the files recovered at SCP-2091-2's house were deteriorated or unreadable due to poor management, though what has been recoverable is in the Foundation's archives. Addendum 2091-C. The following is a transcript of one of the few recoverable pages taken from the journals of SCP-2091-2's house relevant to this entry. Journal entry 1 January 5th, 1998, or May 1st. Unsure. Um, no reason to be cruel to your followers, and is leaving behind a granddaughter to inherit nothing but her clothing, anything but cruel. With no family to speak of except for me, she'll have no one to turn to. And may you damn me to hell if I ever leave sweet Abby to the destiny of adoption. One which is unforgiving and cold as I have learned. You have seen me through those tough times, and I have no doubt that you could help her through those tough times. But isn't the work of the Lord to lessen the suffering of his children? Scribble marks. A couple weeks prior, I had gone to a conference to meet with long-term friends in Cross City, for what I had then wagered to be my last time there. My physician had cleared me to go, and so long as I had Abby supervised by my friends in case of medical emergencies, I would be free to go with her there to worship. Unfortunately, I could not spend long, as most of my time was spent in the bathroom, sick and sobbing. I would not doubt that Abby was smart enough to catch on to what had happened. Scroll more. Jonathan had, by the intermission of the service, approached me as Abby and I were ready to head to a nearby store for groceries. He sat down with me as I sent Abby to play with Curtis and his daughter, Frances. He had wondered what my plans were should I die soon. I took offense to this, as I would not leave Abby in the hands of a system so cold and cruel to children, nor leave her on her own. Yet I had been searching for months to find a suitable guardian for her. There were no other family or friends of my son Ian, nor could I locate his wife. Though I have forgiven her, I do not know if I could ever reconcile with what she has done, nor speak or write her name. It is better for Abby to never know. What other plans could I have then? He told me that he knew of a way that could work. One of the services he had been to over in Franklin County with a group he had referred to as the Hand had taught him what is supposedly magic to work in accordance to the Lord's ways. I had considered it blasphemous and was ready to leave when he handed me printouts of what was needed to be done. I read incredulously, each word making me more fearful. Could I really continue to watch over Abby? The words must have left my mouth as well, because he chuckled and nodded. There would, of course, be the issue of my sudden disappearance. He had agreed to work out that issue as well, and he would claim to be Abby's guardian, but leave me be. Could I be forgiven for casting him with a suspicious eye? Despite having known him for 40 years, since the two of us had grown up together as children, he was never particularly religious, though he informed me a few years ago he had found God again. Plus, he would be the final legal link Abby has to my family. He has encouraged me to research and to phone him my answer when I was sure. I thought about his words on the drive home. Whenever I was not tending to Abby at the hospital, tending to my art, or sleeping, I would be constantly reading the Bible, praying, searching for an answer. I had never given up looking for the best option for her, and it is only until last night that I decided this, then, would be the best action to take. Abigail, I hope you understand. I will not guard her any longer than I have to, and I will not cheat you. God, by staying with my spirit on earth eternally, with her time and her time and her body is gone, I shall join her to go to you. And if transcript of interview log 2091-A. Interviewed SCP-2091-2. Interviewer Researcher Chang. Forward. Following initial containment and relocation to Site 282, SCP-2091-2 had refused to talk or allow permission for interviews. After deliberation among the team assigned to SCP-2091-1 and SCP-2091-2, it was decided to allow both to interact with each other, with strict security measures to allow cooperation. After a 15-minute period to allow the two to interact with each other, the interview commenced. Begin log 1830. Researcher Chang, how are you feeling, Miss Harlow? SCP-2091-2. A bit better. All those guards look scary, though. Researcher Chang, I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry. We always take careful measures just in case. Can you state how old you are for the interview? SCP-2091-2. Sure. 16 years old. Researcher Chang, thank you. Now, do you want to talk about what happened a couple days ago with that burglar? SCP-2091-2. I'm sorry. He wouldn't mean to hurt anyone that badly. Researcher Chang, he almost killed that man, though. SCP-2091-2. I had to tell him to stop. I was scared at first because I thought the guy would hurt me. And then when I was crying out, well... SCP-2091-2 stops at this point to collect herself and take deep breaths. Researcher Chang, do you want to continue this later? We can set up another interview for a different time. SCP-2091-2. No, it's okay. He just wanted to protect me, is all. I told him to stop, and eventually he did. Is that guy okay? Researcher Chang, he'll survive. You're concerned for the person who tried to break into your home and rob you. SCP-2091-2. What if he needed money or food? He could have asked, but maybe he did it for a good reason. Researcher Chang, well, let's move on to another topic. What is the relationship between you and your bear? SCP-2091-2. He's my granddad. Researcher Chang, your grandfather? SCP-2091-2. Yeah, I think I remember that he used to be a person, and now he's a bear. Researcher Chang, do you know why? SCP-2091-2. I remember one night before I went to bed, he told me that he'd leave but come back differently. He told me he'd be a bear, so I shouldn't be surprised when I see a bear walking around. Researcher Chang, how long ago was that? Why did you believe him? SCP-2091-2. 10 years ago? I was 6. Why wouldn't I believe him? He was a bear the next day. I saw him moving around. Researcher Chang, how did you manage to take care of yourself? It doesn't look easy for bears to cook, at least. SCP-2091-2. He found books for me to read whenever I wasn't at school. He had taught me some things before he became a bear. I remembered that. He taught me how to make sandwiches and how to cook dinner from a box in a microwave. We had a lot of those. I learned how to do it after a short time, and I can cook and feed myself. Researcher Chang, do you need to cook for your grandfather? SCP-2091-2. No, he doesn't need to eat. But sometimes when we play or he protects me, he accidentally breaks a part of his body. Once he figured out how to fix himself by eating stuff, I got a bunch of clay for him. Researcher Chang, how did you get money and food? SCP-2091-2. Someone paid our bills every month and would send stuff to our house. The label always said Harmon. Researcher Chang, do you know who that is? SCP-2091-2. No. My granddad always told me to take them. He knew who he was. Researcher Chang, how does he talk with you? SCP-2091-2. He just speaks to my mind and I talk back with my mouth. Isn't that cool? Researcher Chang, can he, talk to anyone else with his mind? SCP-2091-2. He told me that he tried. No one understands him. Sorry. Researcher Chang, that's alright. Does he know where Mr. Harmon is now? SCP-2091-2. Do you know, Granddad? SCP-2091-1 makes grunting noises while turning to look at SCP-2091-2. SCP-2091-2. He doesn't know anymore. He used to be with him in church a lot, though, but he hasn't talked with him after becoming a bear. Researcher Chang. I see. SCP-2091-2. Is the conversation over? I'm getting nervous and want to go back to talking with Granddad. Researcher Chang. We can stop for today, but before we do, is there anything he wants to add to the conversation? SCP-2091-1 doesn't make any additional noise, instead lying down on the floor and looking between Researcher Chang and the security guards. SCP-2091-2. He says he's afraid you'll try and hurt me. End log 1851. Closing statement. Researcher Chang continued with superfluous and irrelevant questioning in order to ease SCP-2091-1 and SCP-2091-2's anxieties and discomfort to make containment easier. At the end of the interview, SCP-2091-1 and SCP-2091-2 were allowed to spend another 20 minutes with each other before SCP-2091-2 was guided back to her cell and the session formally ended. I don't understand why they can't just keep them together. Imagine a short amount of time every 2 weeks. That's pretty cruel, don't you think? That is true, they are pretty cruel. It's not like they're gonna hurt anyone. Intentionally. The granddad only protects. Okay. Let's see. Now we are at SCP-3880. Okay. SCP-3880. Object Class Keter/Uncontained. Special Containment Procedures. As the DJ Shack count cannot currently be removed, Foundation focuses on obfuscation of content via generation of streams with identical names and content. POI-60413 DJ Shack is under investigation at mid-priority. Description: SCP-3880 is a phenomenon whereby a small percentage of people indoors during rainstorms will become convinced they are not hearing a storm, but instead are listening to the YouTube live stream. Rain sounds, infinite hours, no looping, white noise, nature, healing, ambient, meditation, insomnia study, ASMR, original. Hosted by user DJ Shack, people affected in this way will universally report feeling their mood lighten and having their creativity and energy rise through the course of the storm. While no compulsive effect is believed to be at play, the majority of people affected this way will subsequently seek out the actual stream, reporting varying degrees of satisfaction with its content. The live stream has been running since the YouTube live stream service was open to verified users in May 2013 and features a sound of rain and thunder streamed live, with occasional interjections from DJ Shock themselves. DJ Shack regularly engages with live comments on the stream, often speaking as if it is an original music live stream. Common comments of his include brags about their use of original organic glyphs, and that fact that none of their storms are ever identical, leading to their most frequent comment, "Real life has got no repeats." SCP-3880 was first brought to the Foundation's attention with Storm Desmond, an extratropical cyclone which saw record rainfall in many parts of Ireland, Scotland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. DJ Shock claims responsibility for Storm Desmond, as they do many weather patterns, citing their status as a literal, actual storm god. This claim is somewhat suspect, as DJ Shock also claimed to be a demigod, the spirit of a rainforest, a sentient gust of wind, and the rainbow serpent. Following Storm Desmond, DJ Shock's regular viewership rose from 38 to a peak of 7,400. Shortly following this, DJ Shock bought a microphone to communicate with viewers. Previously, announcements had been made via a text-to-speech program. Transcripts were recommended due to the low quality of audio and the unclear nature of DJ Shock's speech. Livestream excerpt December 17th, 2015. Oh.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Can I get some comments? Yeah, great. Okay. It's your boy DJ Shock. No relation.
Sorry, Shock.
Welcome all the newcomers. Looks like Storm Desmond's really put me on the map, I guess. And we're now at 6,000 listeners. That's crazy. Now I'm thinking, right, thanks for our joke. So there's been a bit of hostility in chat, I guess. Many people don't really know the deal, and that's fine, But, if you're asking me to replay something I've already played before, sorry, I only do live stuff, because real life has got no repeats. There's something we say in chat, something we say. So if you want to listen to something old, I upload everything on SoundCloud, links in the description. Or a couple of chat members will host restreams with their favorite of my stuff. Ask them about that. Stick around here, though, because this is where the party is. Alright, I'll get back out of your hair. Check out.
Interesting. I didn't know that they put audio files and stuff on here. The livestream continued to gain popularity over the following year, with users citing good community spirit and the ability to request changes as strong reasons for regularly returning. DJ Shock began to interject more frequently, commonly during lulls in storm patterns or when switching became between storm locations. The first concrete demonstration of DJ Shack's anomalous ability came when the stream regular Shock Through the Heart requested they lessen the intensity of a storm in their area, as their roof was beginning to leak. Livestream expert, December 3rd, 2016.
Hey, it's your boy, DJ, let me just kind of spin down a little, sorry. Okay. So, spin down a little pattern, yeah? Yeah. Get a drizzle going. There we go. Boy, DJ Shock, no relation, popping in to give you some great news. It's my birthday! That's right. Be here, December 9th, because we are going to have a party. And as part of a new annual tradition, I will be dropping my latest storm, something that I've been bringing up for weeks now. That's right, get hype, because we are going to have the thickest crashes, the whooshiest winds, the tinkliest rain on the glass. This is going to be better than Desmond, guys, and I know you guys love Desmond. Now, normally the storm pre-streams are only available to Patreons, but as it's my birthday, it'll be totally free right here on the live stream. Oh, and speaking of Patreon, Big thanks to the warlocks down at the Unico Consortium, because they have hooked me up with some glyphs that'll let me make sample packs. We put them up on Splice, or they'll also be available immediately for all Patreon backers, J tier and up. And as a little taster, spoiler warning for the purists, the title of this one is going to be Storm Cali, as in Calypso. Yeah. DJ Check out.
I'm so sorry, but I find that the commentary really cringy. I do like the white noise, though. I do like that. Anyways, at this point, it was decided that the stream should be shut down, and standard contacts with an alphabet incorporated were activated to remove the account. This proved impossible, however, as all accounts associated with DJ Check featured a strong crypto-archaic ward with various power sigils embedded within DJ Check's user details. Investigation of the account revealed a private video featuring audio of activation words for said sigils. Attempts at cracking this ward by Foundation thaumaturgic assets proved fruitless. Shortly after Storm Cali, which killed 9, the Foundation elected to hire a 3 Portland contractor to handle takedown of the livestream. Livestream excerpt, December 12, 2016.
Hey, it's Chuck. Hey. Got some good news and some bad news. I've got some bad news. It looks like the stream's gonna end, guys. Lunasa, who I thought was my friend, he's claiming he was in Black Rock when I was making Storm Desmond, that I used his storm clouds, which is bullshit, by the way. He's not even a storm god, he's a war god. He's associated with storms, but whatever. Can't put a copyright strike in a video, because I haven't put up a video, so he just reported my account. Well, yesterday YouTube tried to take down my account. They can't yet, because I've got some protections from friends, but for their sake, so they don't get discovered, I'm gonna have to take it down before YouTube looks too deep into some code and figures them. You guys don't need to know this. When my account is getting suspended soon, like possibly today, tomorrow. He put some much strikes on SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Patreon. For some bullshit reason, they were all gone through. This is the regulars. You guys know how to get through to me. But for everyone else, all the people who just joined today, the people who've been listening day in and day out, this is probably goodbye. That's weird to say. Maybe it's just from background noise from you guys, but this stream has meant a lot to me. Everything. I wasn't really creating before this. Something this shitty, depressive thing, and you guys helped me find myself again, find my voice. A lot of people in real life still make fun of my lip, but you guys are all just so nice when I talk. I'm not gonna go back to how I was before. I in bed all day till 2 a.m. I was missing lectures and I was missing friends, and it might not be the way you expect, but I'm gonna keep the rains coming for all of you. Maybe that doesn't sound great. Lots of people hate rain. How about this? I'll keep the flowers growing, the rivers flowing, the great winds blowing. All because I'm owing you the world. That works. Chuck out.
Honestly, I kind of gotta give it to the whoever voiced these. They're really good at their emotions. Asakwaji, yes, thank you for the 9 months, and please make sure to take care of my grandpup. Okay. As DJ Check's identity remains unknown and their anomalous abilities are therefore still outside of Foundation containment standards, this article has not been reclassified. A proposal is ongoing to shift the article's focus to DJ Check themselves. Dr. Ryoko Sato, a Foundation employee who often listened to the live stream, now reports that during rainstorms she feels as if she is sitting with a friend. Oh, it's a little sad that he's gone. Maybe DJ Jack will come back one day. Alright, let's see. Now we have SCP-2900, Object Class Euclid, Special Containment Procedures. All instances of SCP-2900 are to be reported by Site-19 staff as they are found and referred to Dr. Yang for inspection and testing. They are to be stored in large storage lockers 23233. They must be placed at least 1 meter from the walls of the storage locker. All are to be handled using 1.5 meter long manipulation arms. All personnel on Site-19 are to be informed of what an SCP-2900 instance looks like, and any personnel receiving an instance are to be tested weekly for 3 months after receiving said instance for any anomalous effects. Currently, SCP-2900 has shown no adverse anomalous effects. Site-19's current monitoring system is enough to prevent the effect from spreading exponentially. That was the previous one. Currently, all SCP-2900 instances are to be tagged and given back to their initial recipients, provided said recipients are Foundation personnel assigned to Site-19. Instances are allowed to be put on display in researchers' offices. All recipients will be provided with a glass case meeting containment standards for SCP-2900. No instances are allowed to leave Site-19 to prevent spreading of its anomalous effects. Description: SCP-2900 has an anomalous effect that spreads via SCP-2900 instances. SCP-2900 instances are a variety of trophies, certificates, and medals denoting performance in the recipient's chosen field of work. It has been noted that not all SCP-2900 instances denote exemplary performance, as seen in several SCP-2900 instances. SCP-2900 itself affects all sapient beings who pass within a 1 meter radius of any given instance. SCP-2900 manifests by anomalous creating an SCP-2900 instance for said sapient being, hereby referred to as the recipient. This instant appears to be one of the recipient's places of storing/showcasing other awards or accolades, or a prominent place solely used by the recipient. Goes unmonitored for 5 minutes. SCP-2900 seems to prioritize places of work for this effect and does not seem to be able to place an SCP-2900 instance in a location over 1 kilometer away. This effect persists for 1 hour after the recipient has passed through the area of effect and fades if suitable conditions cannot be found. SCP-2900 instances can be recognized by the achievement logo on the bottom/back of all instances. SCP-2900 was discovered at Redacted High School. Redacted. It came to the Foundation's attention after multiple reports of the appearance of participation awards from multiple students. Hundreds of instances were discovered in an unused corridor of the school. Fortunately, the effect was not yet widespread, and a containment team was able to track down all instances. Addendum July 15th, redacted. SCP-2900 instances began manifesting for multiple security personnel. Testing revealed that the SCP-2900 area of effect had increased to 2 meters. The next day, this area of effect had increased to 3 meters. Return of SCP-2900 instances to their Foundation recipients stopped the 2900 effect completely for a month. After this, all SCP-2900 instances, areas of effect returned to normal. SCP caused by the SCP-2900 seems to add about 1 instance per week, provided there are monitoring lapses, which are generally caused by the breach of other SCPs. After another instance is added, provided the recipient continues to display their instance, all instances will cease their anomalous effects for a period between 2 days and 3 months. Varying instance to instance. Containment procedures revised. Partial instance list. Number 42. Gold medal with blue ribbon. You walked half a 5K. Student at Redacted High School. Good night, Cassie. Sleep well. Hope you enjoyed it. Instance number 53. Gold medal with blue ribbon. You graduated 9th grade. Student at Redacted High School. 72. Gold medal with blue ribbon. You haven't hurt anyone in 24 hours. Student at Redacted High School. Wait a second. 125. Gold trophy with depiction of mop and bucket. Best female janitor under 160 pounds. Janitor at Redacted High School. 134. Paper certificate. Best containment crew member. Containment crew member responsible for collecting SCP-2900 instances. 136. Bronze medal with blue ribbon. Site 19's burglary of the year. Assistant researcher redacted. Note, this instance manifested after assistant researcher redacted broke into Agent Redacted's office and stole several classified documents. Thank you for the stretch. 137. Gold medal with blue ribbon. Good job saving the world again. Dr. Redacted. 142. Paper certificate. You did your best. Agent Howard, deceased. Note, this certificate was discovered inside Agent Howard's casket prior to burial. Wow. 144. Gold trophy with standard gold chalice. Best containment procedures. Dr. Yang. 145. Gold medal with blue ribbon. It wasn't your fault they didn't make it. Security guard, redacted. 163. Bronze trophy depicting Agent Yadav holding a pocket watch. Nobody knows what you did but you. I hope that's enough. Agent Yadav. Nope. Agent Yadav supplied no information regarding the text of this instance and showed complete immunity to Foundation memory probing techniques. Agent Yadav submitted to Foundation arrest and study, saying that his work is already done. Addendum May 22nd, redacted. Major containment breach by SCP-2900. SCP-2900 manifested in a previously unknown way by replacing a previous accolade, a Foundation star given to Agent Sampson for meritorious action in the field. Agent Sampson then transported SCP-2900 instance to his off-site housing. Along the way, his instant came into contact with over 12 people, manifesting for 9 of them. This led to a widespread breach of containment, and within 48 hours, over 208 instances had been created. At this point, the Foundation became aware of the breach in containment and immediately mobilized containment teams to contain it. Since SCP-2900 instances continued to perpetrate for another 48 hours before no new instances were recorded as being added. Over continued to perpetrate for another Over redacted instances were created in this time period before the Foundation successfully contained the breach containment procedure for SCP-2900 are to be more stringently enforced. Only 4 more instances of SCP 2900 have been added to date, with the accompanying text becoming increasingly somber in tone, with periods of up to redacted months in between manifestations. The last SCP-2900 instance added to date is a bronze trophy depicting a gold medal found in storage locker 23233 with the following accompanying text. Best attempt at making people happy. Oh, I think SCP-2900 is sad that it can't continue making new instances. What was the harm in these? Nothing. How are you, Lumen? Okay. You know, I am considering making a part 3 to this. This one is rather long. Oh, and so was that one. Okay, chat. I actually think we will stop here for this one, and we will do a part 3 for the rest of these. We have 7 more. 7 more to read.